Good morning. It is day 4 of our Alaskan cruise and we have made it to Skagway, Alaska. And this is what I expected when we made it here. And we're just in port. Check it out. Absolutely stunning mountain views all around us, even on the other side of the ship. This is what I was expecting to see when I came to Alaska.
All right. If you don't come to Skagway, you get the photo of the monument to Frank. I haven't lived. I'm just teasing. Don't you put that on social media now.
Too late.
Oh, too late. It's already there. Oh my goodness. Time moves so quickly around here. Let's reset the scene. Soapy's drunk as a skunk. He's going to march on down to that meeting and break it up. Who's there to stop him but Frank Reed, our town hero, who says, "Smith, you're not allowed. Here you got to go." Now, Soapy, he doesn't like this. In an effort to knock Frank Reed off the docks and into the drink, Soapy drunkenly swings his rifle around like a club. Ugh. He's dead drunk, folks. He completely misses. This is all the legal provocation Frank Reed thinks he needs to pull out his own pistol, cock it, and fire. Click. Click. We're looking for bang, right? We hear bang, that's the end of the tale. We all go back to the bus. That is not what happens here. By a sick twist of fate, Frank's hammer falls on a faulty cartridge. "No!" he screams, cocking the gun back one more time, bringing another round into the chamber. Now, Soapy, seeing death in Frank Reed's eyes, has enough time to swing his rifle back around. Two guns blaze in the dark. Soapy's the lucky guy that day. Frank's bullet pierces his heart. Oh! Dead before he hits the docks. Frank Reed, our town hero, not so lucky. Soapy's bullet gets him in the pelvis, we'll say, shatters the poor guy's pelvis. You might notice he doesn't die on July 8th, 1898. It takes him 12 agonizing days to go from a festering infection in the wound. Ladies, you should see the men's faces right now. Priceless. A funeral is held. 2,000 people attend. They stand right where you folks are, all the way to the banks of the river. Still to this day, it's the largest funeral Skagway has ever seen. Afterwards, hats are passed around, money's collected, and the following spring they erect this beautiful monument in his honor. Isn't that nice? Now let's read. Frank H. Reed died July 20th, 1898, age 54 years. That's a pretty good old age for a gold rush. I'm so sorry. It just gets me right here. He gave his life for the honor of Skagway. Are you laughing out there? No tears for our hero here? You heartless bunch. You're probably pretty smart. You already know about this guy already, don't you? Turns out Frank here, our hero, he's not really such a nice guy after all. Not long after the monument is put up, a couple guys come from Sweet Home, Oregon, looking for Frank, wondering how on earth Skagway has put up a monument to a murderer. This guy's got a bit of a past and a temper. Just before he comes up to Skagway, he gets into an argument with the guy down in Sweet Home, Oregon. This guy tries to do the right thing. He turns his back on Frank and walks away. Frank takes his pistol and shoots this guy in the back, killing this unarmed man. He goes on trial for murder for this, gets up to the bench and says, "Oh, I swear, Your Honor, it was self-defense." And he gets off. Now, we figure money most likely exchange hands here. He's just a day ahead of his own reputation by the time he makes it to Skagway. But I will give him credit for this, folks. He turns over a whole new leaf. He does. He becomes the respected surveyor and engineer. And he does it by stealing the real town surveyor and engineer's equipment. Who's gone up to the Klondike for their own chance at the gold. He resurveys the town over the already surveyed land sells off all these new plots, and pockets all that money for himself. But this isn't his land to survey. And it's certainly not his land to sell. It's William Moore's, the poor 78-year-old man who has been waiting 10 years for this moment. He's out of town at the time. He gets none of it. To add insult to injury, Frank has his men pick up William Moore's cabin, the first homestead in Skagway, carry it to the banks of our river, and toss it in. I mean, that's our hero we're talking about now. So let's sum this guy up. Frank Reed, our hero. He's a liar, a thief, a murderer, an imposter, and worst of all, in a gold rush town, a claims jumper. It's embarrassing, we know, we will admit it. But you know what? We like his story. So he'll forever be immortalized and remembered in granite as our hero. Now, when the news of Soapy's death hits the rest of the town, his men scatter into the hills. Now, there's no place these guys can hide, folks. They gather every single one of them up within 24 hours. They put them on a steamer and get them all out of here, so they're gone. But in all of the confusion, the entire town seemingly forgets about one thing. Soapy. They left his body to rot on the docks overnight. There is still a gold rush in full swing. People are now arriving, having to greet and step over a bloody carcass just to get into town. And some of the ladies will tell the mayor about it. He says, "Welcome to Skagway." He didn't care. Only one person would take pity on him, and that was the town preacher, John Sinclair. He took some money out of the church coffers, hired a teamster with a wagon. They scooped up the bloody body and brought it here to be buried where it still is today, and then proceeded to perform Skagway's shortest, least attended funeral in its history. We know this because the preacher wrote about it in his journal. He wrote that he was there, the preacher. The teamster who pulled the wagon and was paid to be there was there, and a woman, mysteriously clad in black, thickly veiled. Do you want to know who she was? So do we! We have no idea because he never wrote the name. It's very annoying, we'll never know. But we do know who it wasn't. It wasn't Mrs. Soapy Smith because she was down in St. Louis raising their 3 children, who he was sending money home to at the very least. We're all left to assume that it was his mom. The preacher opens up the book to Proverbs and says, "The way of a transgressor is hard." Amen. Let's eat. That's all he got, folks. And maybe a little bit more than he possibly deserved, if we're being honest. I don't really want to be that judge. All I know is he got this guy buried over here in his bloody death clothes. This guy with the enormous monument. I mean, come on. If you gotta go on a good day. Because around here, timing is everything. Oh my goodness. Here's...
You can see like little slits where landslides were. See 'em?
Look at this, folks. Is this gorgeous or what? You came on such a beautiful...
All right, we've made it up here to a scenic view of the town of Skagway. And you can just tell just by the mountains just behind me here, just how surreal it is to be here in a place like this. I guess there are about 800 people who live here year-round, and about 2,000 more come in as seasonal workers during the summertime and the tourist time, which is about May 1st to September 30th of every year. They do have an airport. It's this runway right here. There is an airport, but you got to go to Juneau to get bigger airports to get out of the area. And of course, you can see the cruise ships there. Tourism is actually their number 2 biggest part of their economy. The number 1, I don't remember. I'll have to look that up and tell you again in a little bit. But this is the northernmost port to get out of here. So a lot of Canadian trade will come through the mountains into Skagway to sail out of here. So they have a very good relationship with Canada with getting their trade out of here. But it's an amazing town with a lot of history here. And it is brutal winters, what we were told by our guide. And but the summertime can get decent. Like, it's a beautiful day today, so we're actually very lucky to have a beautiful day like this. This is Skagway. Let's go see some more. Yeah, it's an amazing little town here, tucked away in between the mountains.
That hardware store across the street. Yeah.
Where's the
No double chocolate. And they don't have regular vanilla, but they have grand vanilla.
So what's interesting here with this ice cream shop is they have ice cream scoops from all decades across history. But the funny thing is most of them are still the same design from what we actually have today. Yeah. Before they had the advent of the snowplow, they used to use this wheel, and it would take 9 men to turn this in order to clear the tracks of snow, powered by this little number 52 engine. Now, of course, they have one man who uses a snowplow. It's a lot simpler now. Look at the size of that. There's a lot of history here in Skagway, and no shortage of jewelry shops either. And of course there are t-shirt stores and souvenir shops. But interestingly enough, there's only 800 people that live here, and there's only one supermarket on the entire town. And if you want to get a half a gallon of milk, it's about $9 right now. So a fascinating story here in Skagway that is a big part of the history was this shootout between Frank Reed and Soapy Smith. Soapy Smith was apparently some kind of con man here, and Frank Reed, who came into town from, I believe it was Oregon, wanted to come here and restore law, and Soapy Smith went down to the wharf where Frank Reed was and said, "Oh, I heard you're here you're talking about me." And they said, "Oh yeah," and one of them, when Soapy Smith was drunk, and they started shooting. They had problems with the guns. And by the time they both got set up, they shot each other at the same time. Soapy Smith died on the spot. Frank Reed died about 12 days later. A lot of history. It happened right here in this location.